copy and get from version control, Control V, and paper, rock, scissors, clone. Trust project. Obviously, this program contains more business logic than this cat meow example, right? Because it needs to decide, it needs to make random decision, it needs to decide who is the winner, right? Not trivial, but not complicated. But it's better to separate it from the GUI. This is what I did. So let's see. First, I want to define business logic using some constants, like a choice. So I use enumeration type to select choice, paper, rock, or scissors. When I define the choice, I don't have to remember that paper is 0, rock is 1, scissors is 2, because in making decisions, it will be hard to write code remembering these combinations. When I define this paper, rock, or scissors as words, I can think in words when I write code. So this makes it easier to do and harder to make mistake. I also defined game result enumeration type, that is result of the game, first winner, second winner, and replay. So as you see, in the business logic, it is a game between two people, or computer and person, or person versus computer. It's not predefined who is the computer. Potentially, it could be business logic between two people. Okay? So it's more general. Next. I need to display data on output. So I better define some data class that contains what is choice of the first person, what is choice of the second person, and result. First win, second win, or replay. That would be used to show output. Right? So I need some kind of essential object, data object that will be used in the output page. Okay? So this is my game data object. Choice, it's a enumeration type, paper, rock, or scissors. Player 1 choice, player 2 choice. And game result, it is literally player 1 wins, player 2 wins, or replay. So if we provide this kind of object to output page, this is enough. The rest, it will be just logic inside of the template. Correct? So somehow I need this object in the output page. So this is logic. Are you following? Yeah? Okay. Next. Remember that this is choice. And choice is enumeration type, but I already mentioned that enumeration type is more complicated than just set of constants. We can define methods, we can define constructors in it. And in this case, I'm overwriting toString. So when toString is called, automatically when we display data inside of template, it will be converting to string. So what happens? It will make it lowercase. It will call toString of superclass and call toString to lowercase. So it will print enumeration type in lowercase. So I don't have to do any switch inside of template. It will be automatic. So it is super handy. So let me show. So in the output, which is coming soon, going back to localhost 8080, I select paper, play, and now view page source. Okay. This value for the paper.ping, this literally word paper before .ping, is output of enumerator. And then this is also output of enumerator, this is output of enumerator. So I could insert enumeration type directly into the page without any transformation, because I overwrote toString. Otherwise, I would have to change capitals somehow into lowercase inside of the template, which is extra mess. Okay. Perhaps it would be more interesting if it is not the same. So let's play again in hope that it is different. Okay, a view page source. So you see, this is actually coming from enumerator inserted into page. Okay, so it would be more obvious if we open template and see inside of template. So I open template, output, game data player one choice, it's enumeration. It is converted into string, so it is small case because I overwrote to string. Dot ping makes name of the image. All right. So this is how image is inserted based on enumeration type. You see, and then game data player two choice is also enumeration type converted to string. It will end up as whatever is there, rock or paper. Okay? The same is used here. Computer choice, some output. But in order to display who is the winner, I am using switch. The reason is that data class contains player one wins, player two wins, and or replay. Remember how switch works? We have a switch and value. And template engine will keep only item that is matching the value, right? Here. So if it is matching player one wins, player one, in this case it is user. It displays you won. If player two wins, it displays computer won or replay. And this special comment, as already discussed, that is hiding this line from a browser, but it's not hiding it from template engine, so template engine will process the switch. Now, where is the business logic? I want to separate this business logic away from controller, so controller is easier to edit and it's not cluttered with some code. Right? Okay? So let's see what is going on. In my game data class contains static function, private static function, used by constructor that returning decision what is game result. I use a combination of two switches in order to return result. And just because I use enumeration type, it's easy to write the code. Imagine if we had some numbers here instead of enumeration type. It would be a lot harder to write the code. So let's see. Switch, player one choice. And this is player one choice, paper, rock, scissors. Every switch, every case for player one contains another switch for player two choice. Right? So if player one choice is paper, player two choice is paper, result replay, return result replay. Rock, player two choice rock, paper versus rock, player one wins. Right? So just because I'm using enumeration type, it's by far easier to write code, right? If I would have to use numbers instead of it. I hope I convinced you that using enumeration type is a great benefit in some scenario, for example, like this. Maybe not in all the cases, but at least in some scenarios like that, it's a great benefit. All right? So this is static method because it's called from constructor. From constructor, you can call only certain kinds of methods, right? In this case, this is static. You cannot refer to objects values that are not assigned yet in constructor. So now we have a constructor. Here it is. Constructor here. Constructor obviously needs only player one choice and player two choice, and it can't decide who is the winner, right? So player one choice is assigned to this player one choice, player two choice is assigned to this player two choice, and result is a result of calling the static method. And the static method returns what is game result. So this object is supposed to be given to template, and template makes the decision you already saw, logic inside of template. Okay. So let's see the logic inside of the constructor, inside of the controller. Okay. So last thing, in this case, logic inside of the controller. Where's my controller? Controller, game controller. I have a logger, I have game service, right? So what is game service? Game service is used here. Input template is doesn't have any object bound to input. Just I kept it simple. So I selected PROG by default, and nothing is dynamic. Okay? So it is just showing input template, always the same as it is. But in this input form is sending data to address play, and it is received as enumeration type user choice. Why? Because we can. Because we can, we send data, you see radio button, type name user choice, but I'm sending this in lowercase, not capital case. So I decided just, okay, I want to use predefined conversion type. So I defined converter. In config, I defined converter similarly to what we saw already in conversion, but I call it formatter. Formatter is supposed to go both ways, from string to the specified type, in this case choice, and from specified type to string. Unfortunately, this is not always called by default. So it's not called to lowercase by default. So this is not working. What is working is my toString inside of constructor. This is not working. I tried to remove toString from, not constructor, enumeration type. I tried to remove toString from enumeration type. This is not called. I tried to Google, I found information, just call it explicitly. No, I don't want to call it explicitly. It will create extra mess. So unfortunately, this is not called it's not worked in this program. Maybe in some other template engine will call it automatically. But this method is not working. Okay. But this is working. This is working because it accepts lowercase input, you saw. This is not. It only works because I overrode toString to lowercase to display it inside of template properly. And it's also registered the same way in registry, but as formatter. Okay. So like going back to inputs, I'm sending this data, and ROC is checked by default, right? And it's sent to address play. Okay. It is received inside of controller as choice, and since we already have a converter, if we send it in capital, you don't need converter. But I decided just to send it in small, just to show how to use converter. Okay, so it is converted. Now we have user choice is enumeration type. We receive it. Now I'm using game service to get random choice. So my service defines method get random choice, which is computer choice. Okay. So let's open service and see how it does it. So in my service, game service, I have get random choice. So choice is enumeration type. It has a method dot values that returns array of enumeration values. So you see, it's array of enumeration values. Now it's an array. So this is an array. And if I insert random number generation inside of the array, it will be random value of the choice. Are you following? Okay? And what would be random number in the range of the array? Random dot next int, first value is 0, and this is length not included. Length not included will be last index of the array. So it is correct range. So this get random choice will give me choice which is random from the variance of the choice, right? Okay? So what did we learn? We learned how to use some methods of enum type, right? So values, it's a method of enum type that is returning array of enumeration objects. What else does this service provide? Get game data. You give player 1 choice, player 2 choice. First choice, it's user choice. This is computer choice. And it is returning game data based on computer input, user input. So I'm calling this method get game data to generate game data object inside of controller. So I use a service to separate logic from the controller. So what did we see different from previous versions when I used service to separate logic from the controller? What is different? Did you notice that something is very different from the example, like dice roll example, where I separated a logic from business logic from the controller using service? Okay, any idea? Yeah, you probably forgot that in that example I use it, additionally I use it interface. I use it interface for this service. I didn't just create a service, name it, I didn't just create a service market with the service. I also had interface implemented by the service. This would make cleaner separation between user interface and business logic. Because in this case, we don't hard code class name of the implementation inside of the controller. Not really big deal. It matters. It would really matter if we want to test controller separate from service. In this case, we would define interface and perhaps different service implementations, use different service implementation to implement this interface and test controller separate from this service. So in testing scenarios, this would be maybe beneficial, or in larger code, it's maybe beneficial to separate business logic this way, so it is even more separated. Why I didn't do it? One of the reasons, laziness. Another reason, I would say, just to show that it works without it. Because similarly to my previous example with the database where I didn't create service in between, or I didn't create specific separation between interface talking to database and GUI. In that case, I used class coming from the database to display data in GUI. That was a little bit no-no, but most tutorials do use it. Like if you go to Linda tutorials or in you will see it. People do use it. It is shortcut. It is kind of naughty, but it works. Many people do it. I decided to show not exactly a perfect way, so you are aware of it. So if you are kind of in rush, you can do this step and it's fine with me. Okay? As long as you know that it's a little naughty. And the same as here. I deliberately didn't create interface, although it will take me another just 10 minutes to do so, to separate it in between, and just to show It works fine without it. It is just slightly naughty, but it is just fine. People do it. Okay? And it works this way. If you do not create interface, it works. Okay. But if you do create interface, it may be a little bit better. Okay? Now, we have 5 minutes to create interface. Let's try. Okay? Now, I want to rename the class. Now it will be called not game service, it will be called game service implementation. Right click, because it will be implementing interface. So refactor, rename game service implementation. Implement impl. Do I want to rename something else? No, I didn't check. So now it's called game service implementation. Now I right click and I say, I want to refactor extract interface. I need to have an interface name, and this would be game service. I'm selecting which methods I want to mention inside of interface. Get random data, get random choice. Okay? And where should I put it? Inside of service. Refactor. Now Git wants to add it to version control. Let's say fine, edit. Add file to git add, cool. Refactor in review, do refactor, fine. Now we have game service, let's check. This interface has 2 methods, get random choice, returning choice, cool, I want this. It has a method get game data, returning game data, cool, I want that. Now I'm going back to game service implementation, make sure that yes, it implements its interface, cool. It is marked with service, cool. And now I need to make sure that my controller is mentioning interface but not implementation. This way I will have a clean separation between business logic and GUI, right? So, but this needs to be fixed manually. I'm going to back to my controller. And now I need to make sure that it is mentioning interface, right? But not implementation. And it's already fine. So I don't have to do it manually. I made a mistake. I don't have to do it manually. Done? It should work. So let's stop it, run it, and see if it works. Okay. So, start it. Let's see if it works. Paper, rock, or scissors. Selecting scissors, play. Scissors versus paper, you won, it works. So, you see that it is just 5 minutes work, right? If you want to be perfectionist in this area, you're absolutely welcome. It doesn't take much to do, as you learned, right? But a little simpler code also works. Okay. In this case, we do now have clean separation between business logic and interface user UI, because controller belongs to UI, right? It is part of UI, the same as templates. So control is linked to interface. But implementation is whatever implements this interface. Could be any code now. So we are free to change implementation without recoding control. Now we need to finish soon, like 3 minutes, because I learned from before that they will start coming. Okay? Questions?